Welcome to the Wisdom for Life podcast with David Baker. David was a former paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division and for over 30 years has been a preacher. He has written 5 books and is an Amazon #1 best-selling author. He is the chaplain at the county jail, pastors a church, and is the father of 11 children. Yes, 11. This podcast is here to give you wisdom for your family, your marriage, your children, your finances, your health, and your life. And now, the host of Wisdom of Life podcast, David Baker.
Hello and welcome, David Baker. Welcome to the Wisdom for Life podcast. We're glad that you're here. So we've been talking about family problems, fixing them, child rearing, teenagers, adult children, and now for a few weeks we've been talking about marriage problems, yes, marriages have problems. I know you're shocked to hear that, but yes, they do. By the way, all of them do. I saw this quote, really like it. It was a quote about an older couple. Can you imagine a couple that have been married 50, 60, 70 years? How many times they have had to forgive each other? A lot. What a beautiful thing. In a marriage that's going to last, you're going to have to forgive and work through all the problems. So this one, by the way, teenagers, if you're listening to this would be one that you should probably not listen to without letting your parents hear it first and saying, hey, mom and dad, is this something that I'm ready for? It won't be vulgar or anything, but and it's biblical, so I wouldn't mind my teenage boys hearing this. And it is something that they're going to need to know definitely before they get married. And so something you want to understand, and we're just really going to go through the Bible on it. But here it is. Sexual incompatibility is what it's called. This is what AI gave as the top 20 problems that marriages faced. Sexual incompatibility. It says differences in sexual desire or intimacy issues can strain the relationship. And it's not so much as desires, it is being willing to live by the Bible and do what the Bible says. So 1 Corinthians chapter 7 is all about marriage, and Paul to the church directly teaches and explains this. And by the way, it's interesting. It starts out, now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me. So Paul is going to answer a question that the people of Corinth wrote and asked him. They wondered, Paul, what about fornication? Paul, what about intimacy? What about being with a woman and being with a man? What about that? Is that okay? So Paul said, you wrote me, let me answer it. Here it is. First thing, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. It's good for a man not to touch a woman. So what should our dating or pre-dating, or what should our physical guidelines be with a person of the opposite sex that we're not married to? Don't touch. Okay? Don't touch. It's good for a man not to what? Touch. Well, it's okay to hug. It's okay to hold hands. It's okay to kiss. Guess how many times people started off with that and ended up going a lot farther than they planned on because they touch. There's something that happens when you touch. And so many people who never planned on this happening, it happened because they broke with this. It's good for a man not to touch a woman. Our kids, we taught them, don't touch. There'll be plenty of time. The rest of your life for that. It's been special to be at the wedding altar and to know and say, right now, when I say you may kiss your bride, that'll be the first time that they've kissed. It doesn't have to be that way, and we still love them anyway, but what a special thing when you wait, and you wait for everything. So, next verse says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication. To avoid fornication, what? God knew that there was a desire that we had to be with the opposite sex. Guess where that desire came from? Guess who put that in our brain? Guess who made our eyes to be attracted by these things? God did, okay? To avoid fornication, what? Let every man have his own wife. Let every woman have her own husband. Okay, listen carefully. That is God's plan to avoid fornication, is to get married. To get married. And then it says, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife to the husband. It says due benevolence, okay? Render to them due benevolence. Benevolence is that care for them, their desire, the thing that they need. The dictionary definition for benevolence is to do good, goodwill, kindness, charitable, act of kindness, good done by them. And so that benevolence, render them due benevolence, that good kindness, that good kind of charitableness, the love, the care for each other, okay? Render to them due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife. Very simply, when we get married, God said we become one flesh. The man's body is not his, it's hers. The woman's body is not hers, it's his. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And we're not supposed to, the next verse says, defraud ye not the other. Defraud. if a husband will not give to his wife his body and the wife will not give to the husband her body, then they are, here we go, a fraud. A fraud. You go to a dealership, you buy a new car, it's got 0.3 miles on it. All right, that's great. Then you find out later on it's got 50,000 miles on it and they roll the speedometer back. Guess what you have? A fraud. I thought this thing wasn't going to do this. You bought the car expecting it to work and now it doesn't work. It's a fraud. You got married expecting to be intimate and now they say no. Or now they say, I'm tired. Now they say, oh, I have a headache. It's amazing what couples have to go through, and it shouldn't be that way, okay? I'm not making up the word. God said it. It's a fraud. When that man got married, he had the desire, okay, when we get married, we're going to get to be together whenever we want to. Great. Or the wife thought that. By the way, early on in pastoring, I had more men that said, hey, my wife is not being there for me and I want to be together. Nowadays, I'm having more women that say my husband's not taking care of me because more men are taking care of it by doing other things and looking at things that they shouldn't. And so it shouldn't be that way. It's a fraud either way. Defraud ye not the other, except it be with consent for a time. Consent, that means if both people agree on it. I had a wife tell me in counseling, a husband was there, and she said, yeah, we just decided we're going to save it up and just do it once a week. That's not his thought, but that was hers, and that's what he had to go with. It's consent for a time, that you may give yourself to prayer and to fasting and prayer, and come together, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. And so it's amazing how God said only with consent, and that's only if you want to pray and fast. I jokingly say that I've done 2 40-day fasts before, but never been, quote, spiritual enough to fast from being with my wife. And so it's consent, okay? If a wife says, yeah, I want to fast, husband says, well, okay, fast from food or sleep or something else, but not that, because that is not the thing that one person can just say and decide that they want to do that. So then God says, come together again, lest Satan tempt you for your incontinency. What is that? That's your lack of restraint, the ability to control oneself, unchastity. And so God gave a physical desire for us to be with a member of the opposite sex. And then God told us to come back together. Why? Because Satan's going to tempt you. Satan is going to tempt you, okay? It's gigantic. It's a big deal. Husband, body is not yours. Your wife needs you. You be there. Wife, your body's not yours. Husband's there. He needs you. Think about this. So a man needs food to eat. Can he pay someone to make food for him? Sure. Restaurants every day. A man needs clean clothes to go to work. Okay. Can a man pay the dry cleaner or the launderer to do the clothes? Sure. No problem. Man needs a house clean. Can he pay someone to come and clean the house? Absolutely. Man needs intimacy. Can he pay someone to take care of that need for him? No. So if that's the case, there's only one person in the world who can rightly take care of that need, then that becomes the most important thing that you're supposed to do for your job. Well, I got to cook. I got to clean. I got to. Curtis Hudson, old preacher, he's in heaven now. Heard him. He was speaking to women at a conference, and he said, "Women, 3 things to make sure your husband will never leave you. Will always be there for you. Number 1, cook good meals. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Cook good meals. Number 2, keep a clean house. He wants to come home and see a clean house. And number 3, keep the bedroom hot. And if you can only do 1, keep the bedroom hot. The other 2 don't matter anyway." And of course, everyone laughed. And so, but it is a big deal. It's an important thing, very important thing. And so that is something that he cannot pay anyone else to do. Only his wife can take care of that need for him. I was talking to a younger couple not too long ago, and she didn't want to be with him except when she wanted to be. And she said, well, I'm not in the mood. And not to be vulgar, but both of them were there. And I said, sir, I want to ask you this. There's a reason for this. When you're with your wife, how long do you need for you to be taken care of? And he said, not very long. I said, how long? He said, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. And he worked all day long for her. He took care of all the bills. She was able to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of all that. And I looked at her. I got choked up. He got choked up. And she ended up getting choked up. I said, he works 12 hours a day, taking care of all the needs of you and your children. And when he comes home, he needs you for 3 to 5 minutes. Could you not give him that? And nobody else in the world can take care of that for him? 3 to 5 minutes. Isn't it amazing what we do? Isn't it amazing what couples do to each other? Nobody else can take care of that. That's the desire. By the way, are you tempted at work? Yeah. He was in a position of leadership and worked around a lot of women and was tempted every day. But he knew he could go home and be with his wife unless she said no. It's not supposed to be that way. Okay, defraud ye not the other, except it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourself to fasting and prayer, and come together again, the Bible says, that Satan tempts you not for your incontinency. God knew we would have a desire to be with the opposite sex. God said to fix this, get a husband and a wife. Get a husband or a wife. Don't get both. Get a husband or a wife. And then take care of their needs. Okay, take care of their needs. This should be a simple thing, but it's amazing how many marriages have problems with this. Okay? All right, take it. Do it. Be what you're supposed to be. Take care of those needs. Not, okay, fine. No. Husband, do you need me tonight? Wife, do you need me tonight? When they say yes, great. We're glad to be there for the other person. That's the way it should be. Okay? All right, God bless you. We'll see you on the next podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Wisdom for Life podcast. If you have any questions for us, email us at askPastorDavidbaker@gmail.com, and we will answer them in an upcoming podcast. The email is askPastorDavidbaker@gmail.com.